What's going on, Packer fans? Welcome back to the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. We officially made it. It is Super Bowl Sunday. I, for one, am incredibly excited about the game. I think it's going to be a tremendous matchup, which I'll break down more in just a moment. But let's just address the elephant in the room. There is still a very high level of disappointment that Green Bay is not playing in this game. They could be playing in this game. You arguably could say they should be playing in this game. And they're not playing in this game, which has been a recurring theme for some time now. And, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I want to break down what should be, like I said, a very fun and entertaining game with Rams and Bengals. But I just keep going over the fact in my head. And I want to be clear here before I even say this. I am not blaming injuries for the Packers' performance against the 49ers, their inability to win that game. But I just think back at this roster, this 53-man roster, this starting roster of players that you would have in this, what it could have looked like. I just think Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon at running back, Devontae Adams, MVS, Randall Cobb, and Alan Lazard at wide receiver, Robert Tonyan and Mercedes Lewis at tight end, Bakhtiari at left tackle, probably John Runyon Jr. at left guard, Josh Myers at center, and then probably an Elton Jenkins at right guard, Billy Turner at right tackle. You could flip-flop those two. You could switch some of those things around in a variety of different directions. But, man, that offense is stacked, especially if that offensive line is healthy with Jenkins and Bakhtiari. Then at the edge, you've got Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith, who are both playing amazing, with Kenny Clark, Dean Lowry, and Zadarius Smith rushing from inside, Whitney Merciless, and again, Zadarius Smith helping out on the edges as well. Devondre Campbell comes out of nowhere and plays so well. Chris Barnes has a nice season. You've got Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes and Rasul Douglas at corner. And you were to the point where even Kevin King as a dime guy was looking pretty darn good in that role, especially in the divisional game. You've got Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage at safety. Mason Crosby at kicker, who I know struggled, but should have been, ideally, in a normal world, he's still a high-end player. Corey Bojorquez at punter. That is as good of a playable roster from A to Z as I have seen in my time in Green Bay if everyone's healthy. And again, want to be crystal clear here. I am not blaming injuries for the Packers' inability to advance past the divisional round game. And they got a lot of those guys back in the divisional round. I know Zadarius and Jair and Whitney and some of those guys were on snap counts, right? I get that. I get they still didn't have Elton Jenkins, no Bakhtiari, no Robert Tonyan. There were guys missing. Every team had guys missing. Every team had to overcome some level of adversity and play better football in the playoffs, and Green Bay didn't do that. So I'm going to leave it there. Still a level of disappointment, still a level of heartbreak. And we'll just address it for one last time. Actually, I don't think that's true. I think I have one more episode to do on that. But besides that, it's Super Bowl Sunday. So yay. And we do, like I said, have a really fun matchup to go over. And that's Bengals-Rams. I want to start with sort of a small piece of news that's maybe not insignificant for Packer fans trying to pick which team they are cheering for in this game. Mike Daniels was, in fact, activated off the practice squad for the Bengals. I know there's a lot of love for Mike Daniels still from Packers Nation, and deservedly and rightfully so. I know a lot of people, I don't want to say he was their favorite Packer by any means, but he was pretty high up there as a cult favorite in Green Bay. And I know a lot of people were upset when he was gone, and I think also rightfully so. And he's carved himself out a pretty nice career. Never really had the career outside of Green Bay that he did in his prime in Green Bay. But heck, he is still sticking around, and whether it's on a practice squad or not, he is going to be active on game day for the Super Bowl. And here's hoping that Mike Daniels is able to make a difference. And again, maybe for some Packer fans, maybe if they're trying to decide who to cheer for in this game, maybe that made it just a little bit more easy. As I've discussed before, I feel like there's two separate teams here, the Bengals and the Rams, and I feel I'll start with the Rams. I feel like they're the better team. I really do. I feel like they are peaking at the right time, not like Cincinnati's not, they clearly are, but I just feel like everything is hitting on all cylinders the way that they would want this to. Going out and getting Matthew Stafford has paid huge dividends. Cam Akers comes back at exactly the right time. The Odell Beckham move has been massive. Their offensive line is gelling together. Their defense is coming together at the right time. Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, etc. Jalen Ramsey's playing it, like even getting Eric Weddle. And I just go back, and again, I don't think they played great against the 49ers, but they certainly played well enough to win. I thought they dominated the Buccaneers had it not on the road, had it not been for a couple of big Cam Akers fumbles. I thought they completely outplayed the Buccaneers and outclassed the Buccaneers in that game. I just feel like this team's playing a really amazing brand of football right now. And I think if they play at that level, to me, they're the clear favorites. However, the other team, so that's like from a football standpoint, right? Just from a pure X's and O's matchup standpoint, which again, we'll get to in more in just a moment. I feel like it's the Rams. But my goodness, do the Bengals just feel like a bit of a team of destiny? The way that they're getting through these games and finding ways to win, getting through the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game when nobody really expected them to. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase is just this unbelievable dynamic duo that is causing massive problems. Joe Mixon's running well. Their defense is playing phenomenal. They're confusing the heck out of teams at the line of scrimmage and post-snap. Like, this team is for real. It is not a fluke. It is not an upset. Yes, it's a great underdog story, but they're not playing like underdogs. They are playing like legitimate potential Super Bowl champions. So while I think the Rams are better, it's not like this clear night and day, Rams are 14-point favorite sort of thing. It's not. I just think the Rams are a little bit better. But again, Joe Burrow and the Bengals feel like a team of destiny. And like I said, from a pure X's and O's, I like the Rams in this one. But man, if you're scripting this, if this feels like a sort of Hollywood story, to me, the narrative of this postseason has been the Bengals and Joe Burrow. It feels like, and again, I'm not like some conspiracy theorist here of like, I think that they're like, the NFL is rigging things and preparing things, but like, it feels like Tom Brady's going away. Drew Brees just went away. Ben Roethlisberger went away. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will go away. Like you're losing some of these really big name quarterbacks from the game, Phillip Rivers, etc. And it feels like this has been sort of the coming out party and almost enshrinement of the next great quarterback in Joe Burrow. Now, I don't think he needs to win this game to be that. I really don't. I think he's already established himself. But if he overcomes, the journey that they got to get here, and then Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game, and then ultimately wins a Super Bowl, he's already a sensation and a star. He becomes, Joe Billionaire. Like he's just, it's an incredible story, and everyone's, fallen in love with, his play and his confidence and his swag and his style and just all of it, right? But going from national championship to torn ACL to potential Super Bowl champion, the narrative to me has felt like this is Joe Burrow's coming out and we're about to crown the next great quarterback. That's how it feels like. So again, I'm torn between like the pure X's and O's of like, I think the Rams are the better team to team of destiny. Joe Burrow is the narrative here. He's going to be this next great quarterback, and it's going to start with a Super Bowl win. That's kind of like my infighting. And ultimately, and as I'll mention at the end, I'm going to go Rams here. I think that just the better football team wins out. But man, I would not feel confident betting against either of these teams because, again, I don't really want to bet against a team that feels like the team of destiny. I don't really want to bet against a team that I feel is probably the better football team. So not always, hesitant to make a wager on things. I don't feel good about making a wager for either of these teams, but I know a lot of you will, and I wish you all best of luck, and I hope you all win lots and lots of money by doing that. I wouldn't take anything that I say to sway you in any certain direction today. It's not like I've been sitting and just grinding Bengals and Rams tape, but I do think there are some really fun matchups. And a couple of these, as always, whether I'm breaking down a Packers game or anything else, are just going to be low-hanging fruit, right? But like, if you're not sure what to watch in this game, if you're not sure, just like, I'm not a big Rams fan, I'm not a Bengals fan, I don't really care what happens, just watch Jalen Ramsey and Jamar Chase as much as possible. I know wide receiver corner matchups aren't exactly the easiest to watch on like the actual TV copy, but still, if you see those guys matching up, that should be worth the price of admission in and of itself. I cannot wait to see those two. I believe the Rams, I don't think all game, but I think they're going to use a lot of Jalen Ramsey on Jamar Chase. And I think that's just going to be one of the matchups for the ages. And what ultimately could decide this game is who gets the better of that. Because if Ramsey legitimately comes close to shutting down Jamar Chase, man, does that put the Bengals behind the eight ball. And if Jamar Chase can get open against Jalen Ramsey, and even Ramsey can't stop him, and now they have to put more resources towards trying to stop him, man, does that change things for the Rams. So my guess is they're both going to win some battles, and Chase will get a couple big plays, or at least enough of, to get maybe 60, 70 yards, maybe a touchdown, something like that, but not break the game open, which makes it still winnable for both sides. But I cannot wait to watch that. And that's, again, 1A thing that I'm watching. Number 2 is, did the Bengals have any prayer on that offensive line against stopping Aaron Donald? Even if you double him, I'm not sold that you can. And then, again, that opens up potential other avenues for the Rams' other pass rushers, too. So this is a very bad Bengals offensive line that's going against arguably the greatest of all time, and Aaron Donald still playing in his prime, who's ultra, super hyped up and motivated to win this game. That is going to be number 2 thing that I'm watching. And ultimately, why I feel like the Rams is really all 3 of these talking points here. I think Jalen Ramsey can shut down Jamar Chase enough. I don't think the Bengals offensive line can hang with Aaron Donald. And number 3, I still think even if the Bengals do everything to take away Cooper Kupp or whatever the case may be, I feel like the Rams offense is going to put up points against the Bengals in this game. And as I mentioned, I think the Bengals' biggest weapons on offense, Joe Burrow, is going to be pressured by Aaron Donald and the rest of that Rams front and make him less effective. Meanwhile, his go-to receiver, who is, again, he and Chase have torn up the playoffs and torn up the league, the Rams have an answer for that. So all of these key X's and O's, what you're going to do against Jamar Chase, do the Bengals have an answer for Aaron Donald? I believe the Rams have enough to put up points on offense with Kupp and Van Jefferson, as well as Odell Beckham, and just all of it. I just feel like things are sliding in the favor of the Rams. The biggest X factor to me at all in this game is Matthew Stafford. This is why they went out and got him. Yeah, it's great to get there, and yeah, it's, whatever. They had an all-in sort of season, and if you lose, you didn't make good on your bet to go get Matthew Stafford and everyone else to make this a Super Bowl winning team. And ultimately, this is why the Rams felt comfortable doing all that, is because they felt Matthew Stafford could win them the big game. And this is going to be, to me, the entire key to this game. Because if Matthew Stafford has a really good game, to me, it's over. To me, Rams win that game. I don't think the Bengals can survive a great game from Matthew Stafford. However, I don't think the Rams can survive your classic, couple idiot, throws from Matthew Stafford that result in Bengals turnovers. The Bengals have been very advantageous when it's come to those opportunities and finding a way to get turnovers and interceptions. And I wholeheartedly believe that Matthew Stafford's going to have to play his most disciplined game of his career. If he does that, maybe it doesn't even have to be a great Matthew Stafford game, but if he can avoid those big mistakes, man, does it give the Rams a massive chance to win a Super Bowl and really pay everything off this offseason. I think the big player here to keep an eye on with that is Jesse Bates. I know that Jesse Bates isn't exactly a household name. Jesse Bates might be the best player that most people don't know about. He is that damn good, and he is so fun to watch, and he is super, just ball hawking, can cover well, can, free range, whatever you need from a safety, Jesse Bates can give you. And if he can take advantage of one of or two of those Matthew Stafford, just idiot hero ball throws, if there's a guy who can take advantage of it, it's Jesse Bates. So I'm going to really be watching that as well. And again, if Jesse Bates can make a couple big plays in this game, huge swing in momentum for the Bengals. Here's what I'm watching on each side, outside of those things that I just mentioned. For the Bengals, to me, they have to establish the threat of the running game. I don't think Joe Mixon has to go, 25 carries for 140 yards or anything. But I do think keeping Aaron Donald and Von Miller and Leonard Floyd and that entire Rams defense honest and making sure that play action is something that they have to honor and all of that is going to be super important. I think if it gets to the point where Joe Burrow is just in shotgun and taking, 5-step drops and having to get rid of the ball, I think that's a recipe for disaster for the Bengals. I think the Bengals have to be able to run their offense in this game. And if you're the Rams or cheering for the Rams, you got to hope that you can make the Bengals one-dimensional, not have to honor the run as much, and just be able to tee off on that Bengals offensive line. Again, that would swing things in favor of the Rams. for the Bengals, how do you stop Cooper Kupp? And I actually really like the Bengals secondary in this game. I think Mike Hilton, Chidobe Awuzie are going to have really big games. But even if they do, Cooper Kupp can still go off. So I think that has to be a key in this game, is just figuring out how you're not going to stop Cooper Kupp, but how can you limit him? Again, I think that a lot of the stuff that the Bengals do pre and post snap to confuse teams is going to be really interesting, but they're going to have a lead pipe lock game plan on how to stop Cooper Kupp, or he's just going to break the game, and that's obviously clearly a problem. I also think with Jamar Chase likely getting a lot of attention from Jalen Ramsey, this has got to be a big T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd game. Those two guys have to step up. Not sure what Uzomah is going to be able to give you at tight end. I just think they're going to play a lot of 11 personnel as they have done all season. And if that's the case, and Jamar Chase isn't being able to be his normal breakout self, listen, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are no slouches. Those guys have the ability each to go off for 150 yards in any given game. They just have to have a big game and win their matchups and give Joe Burrow clear passing lanes. So if Chase is shut down, he has other place to go to the ball that's safe, and that it's not him having to keep his eyes on the pass route. Like, he can get rid of the ball and get it in his hands of his playmakers, but that's going to take Higgins and Boyd winning quickly off the line of scrimmage. I think the other key thing here for the Bengals is, can they get the Rams to play on tilt? And I go back to that Packers-Rams game. I thought the Packers gained momentum in that game, and then the Rams just made mistake after mistake, and they were on tilt before you knew it. The Rams were pressing and never started feeling like themselves, and just kind of imploded in the second half. And the Packers ended up winning that game, relatively easily. So I think if the Bengals can do something similar and get the Rams to start playing uncharacteristic football, maybe stop running the ball, start pressing for points, and then Matthew Stafford starts pressing and starts making poor decisions, that's going to be a really, a key way for the Bengals to have an avenue for success in this game. For the Rams, I think what you'd love to see is pass rush from from players other than Aaron Donald. I think you're going to get some of that from Aaron Donald no matter what, clearly. But if Von Miller and again, Leonard Floyd and the rest of this Rams defense, Greg Gaines, etc., Agbo Okoronkwo, if those guys can start getting serious pressure, it's going to be a nightmare for Burrow. And I legitimately think the Rams can get 6, 7, 8 sacks in this game, sincerely. So if that starts happening, again, huge advantage for the Rams. I also think they need a big game from their secondary, from players not named Jalen Ramsey, whether it's David Long or Eric Weddle or whomever they want to throw out there. They don't have, in my opinion, a great secondary outside of Jalen Ramsey. And that's where, when I mentioned earlier that Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins are going to have big games, they're going to have to win those matchups. And on the flip side, if the Rams can win those matchups and their other corners can win against Higgins and Boyd while, Ramsey is taking out Jamar Chase, ideally if you're a Rams fan, that to me has a huge impact in this game and makes things uncomfortable for Joe Burrow, which again, all of a sudden he starts holding the ball. That Rams defensive front starts attacking that Bengals offensive line and look the heck out. And then lastly from the Rams, similar to the Bengals with not sure what you're going to get from Uzomah, no Tyler Higbee for the Rams. And I think that's a very big loss. And I think for that reason, Odell Beckham and Van Jefferson are going to have to step up huge. Again, a lot of 11 personnel from both of these teams. They're going to target Cooper Kupp, the Bengals are, to try to take out of the game. That just means, again, that Beckham and Van Jefferson are going to have really big games to, again, give Matthew Stafford quick targets and not have him get under pressure and start throwing hero ball, lollipops up for grabs and give the Bengals a chance to take the ball away. I think it's going to be really fun, really exciting. I ultimately have the Rams winning this one 27-23, hoping for another really great game. That's ultimately what I'll be cheering for in this one. And then, of course, once it ends, we will be 7 months without football, which is the most devastating thing of all of this. However, it should be one hell of a ride of an offseason, one way or the other, for the Packers. So buckle in, get prepared, enjoy this last game. Make sure to subscribe here if you haven't already, because this offense is going to be nuts, and you're going to want to make sure to check us out, check me out, whatever, as we cover everything that you're going to need to know, previewing the offseason, discussing the offseason, reviewing what happened, and previewing what that means for the Packers moving forward. I'll be here every day, 365 days a year. So again, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already and join the game. I'll be right back here tomorrow. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.